sometimes jokes or references in American TV shows can be a little hard to follow. So let's break down a few scenes in this episode. Watch this scene of Maggie hitting Homer over the head with a hammer. Now, if you see this scene on its own, you probably think that it's a little strange, maybe kind of scary, but not really funny. But if you know the movie Psycho, you realize that this scene is actually mirroring the most famous horror scene from the most famous horror movie of all time. Now, back in the 60s, when Psycho was released, it was seen as really shocking because that kind of violence just wasn't shown in theaters. And even though it really isn't as gruesome or as gory as the violence that you see in movies today, it was still really horrific for the 1960s. And I think a lot of the humor from the Simpsons scene comes from just how committed they are to mirroring the shower scene. You know, they don't just do the scary music, they do everything. So the violins, the drape falling, the drain, everything. Take a look at this clip of The Simpsons eating a lackluster TV dinner.
I didn't know they still made TV dinners this bad.
After dinner, can I watch cartoons? No.
There's peas in my fruit cobbler.
There's peas everywhere.
Now, if you don't know, TV dinners were basically these microwaved meals that were designed to be eaten on a tray while you were watching TV. Now, TV dinners nowadays are actually pretty good and for the most part really healthy, but that was not the case in the 90s. They were usually kind of borderline inedible, where when you took them out of the microwave, part of them would be blistering hot and then another part would still be kind of frozen. All the ones that I remember would have this brownie dessert in the corner that always looked really good on the box, but then when you cooked it, the brownie was like really cakey and hard as rock and absolutely terrible. Now, in the scene, they're complaining about peas, and it's not that the Simpsons don't like peas, it's just that one of the features of TV dinners is that they would always have like kind of a loose vegetable like peas or corn, and it would get everywhere. You couldn't avoid it, you know, just getting all over the meal. And that's kind of the joke, the fact that there's like this shared memory of just how bad these TV dinners really are. In this next clip, Homer complains about Marge and her newfound activism.
20 million women in the world and I had to marry Jane Fonda.
So, who is Jane Fonda? Jane Fonda is a really famous US actress who was in movies like 9 to 5 and Barbarella. But honestly, I recognize her name mainly from her activism. So Jane Fonda is really famous for protesting against the Vietnam War, to the point that President Nixon is even recorded complaining about her in the White House tapes. She supports Native American rights and environmental rights. Even into her 80s, she's still really well known and respected for her activism. And in fact, a recent documentary aired called Jane Fonda in 5 Acts that looks at all of her activism throughout the years. Watch this clip and pay attention to the protesters' signs.
What is this all about? What do you people want? We want you to get your big Italian butt out of here.
I specifically want to call attention to the sign, "No nudes are good nudes." So there's this really common phrase in the US, no news is good news. And that basically means that, nothing bad enough has happened that's worth talking about. And a lot of people really believe that if you don't hear about a situation, that means everything is probably generally okay with the situation. There's no really, major changes and nothing really terrible has happened. My family in particular really believes this, to the point that if I get, an email or, a phone call from a family member, I'm instantly nervous because I think that means that something bad must have happened. The sign, "No nudes are good nudes," is a pun on that phrase.